Hi, welcome back to my Crohns channel. Last time I tried to do this channel, I was doing it from when I was really depressed and being sick with Crohn's. But I want to, I've been waiting to do this for the right time when I could do all these fancy video edits. And I just noticed that if I just keep on waiting for the right time, there's never gonna be a right time. And so not be burdened with the edits. I decided to just try to make raw videos and with real time and live and just share it that way, just so I can get these things out that I want to share that I think could help a lot of people dealing with Crohn's and their journey if it's just starting. And I think I have a lot of great talking points and so much I've learned about this disease that I think it could really benefit to help a lot of people and what they're facing, especially when you're just first starting this journey. I was very fortunate because I had a good friend who had an autoimmune disease, and he walked me through a lot of stuff. And a lot of times when he was walking me through this stuff, I was still in denial about my situation and kind of shut it down. And so after now on my I have three biological treatment failures, and now I'm starting my fourth treatment. That I'm really having to wake up to the reality of the situation and start taking more advice of the doctors and take this disease a lot more seriously than I was taking it. Hopefully I can make this treatment work and not have another failure again. But when I was at my last GI doctor visit, my GI doctor said something that I always wish doctors would say, but I was kind of upset about it at the time. But he was telling me all the reasons why this treatment would fail if I didn't start doing certain things, and to increase my odds, I started doing a lot of things I didn't really want to do. And at the time, I didn't know how to take it, but now I've had time to process it, and I really appreciate that he was brave enough to be bold with me and tell me the honest truth, even if it wasn't what I hear. And I think we need more doctors like that. Because a lot of times doctors, when you're going to be in the field, they don't really want to tell you the hard truths, and they don't want to hurt your feelings or have probably get complaints filed against them. So they don't always tell you what you really need to hear. And so sometimes when you hear it, you gotta really appreciate it instead of just getting candy coat versions of what makes you feel better. But now that I'm on my fourth treatment, I started making sure I check with the doctor advice. I'm starting to eat a lot more rice and chicken every day. I have lots of protein. I'm noticing now that I'm keeping my protein levels higher, that the flare-ups are not becoming as intense. And if I do get a flare-up, it doesn't last days on end. It's lasting just that day. And as long as I don't know if that's all science, but or I heard where I heard that, but I just know making sure I keep a high protein diet is making things a lot better for me now. And something I didn't take too seriously because with Crohn's, I didn't have an appetite most times, so I didn't eat a lot, and I think that was contributing to the flare-ups. And so I'm eating a lot more chicken and rice. And when I'm not eating chicken and rice, the Costco's got some great deals on some 2 pounds of lamb. That's a really good price. And I also when I cook my chicken, I get the Costco skinless, boneless chicken thighs. I put those on the George Foreman and cook some rice, and I'll put a can of green beans with it. And it's a simple, easy, quick meal. But also like keeping uh, already cooked protein around, so anytime I'm in a fix, I can just get some quick protein. So Costco sells these little containers with little cooked chicken in them, and they're like little something to hold you between meals. They're perfect when you're going through a situation where you need protein really quickly, and protein seems to be your best friend when you're dealing with Crohn's. At least that's what I'm finding, and it seems to help with my bowel movements a little bit more having a lot of chicken in my diet, especially with beef prices today. Beef is so incredibly expensive. I don't know. I can't eat steak like the way I used to. Now steak's like a once every 3 months kind of treat thing, but it's probably for the better having more chicken in your diet anyways. But but some of the things that for people who are just starting this journey, the doctors may not tell you right away. And that's something that everybody should know, that you will face times of being depressed while you're sick, and they don't. Most doctors won't openly tell you that you're gonna go through this problem before you get there. They're gonna wait for you to get there before they tell you about it. But you should know it's a real possibility that you're gonna have times of depression when you're being sick for days on end. And then the other thing people don't tell you about is you go through your 5 stages of grief when you learn that you can't work no more and you can't be the person you were. You will go through the stages of grief, from bargaining for better health, yeah, and then it's in a cycle. And for me, the denial that this is as bad as it was I've been it's been hard for me to get past my denial about being in this situation because before this I was a workaholic. I worked my ass off, and that was my identity, being a provider. That was just my identity. And then finding out now that I have to live on disability was a sucker punch, and I never thought I'd be a person having a disability and needing these kind of benefits. So it was a big wake up call. So you're gonna go through a lot of stages, and then relationships around you are gonna change, and you're gonna have to start being honest with the people around you who love you to let them know the truth of what your situation is. You can't. They need to know the truth that you can't be the strong person you always been, and that you need to start leaning on people. Maybe if you haven't done that in your life, but you have to learn how to start leaning on the people who you helped before. Now you need some help because unfortunately you can't do this alone. You'll go mad if you try to handle going through this by yourself without having people around you. So, and if I didn't have the few people around me who love me, I don't know where I'd be right now because this was a big change of life, and I feel so guilty that I lean on these people now so much because I was such a workaholic and I wasn't such a big part of life because I was so working, but it feels pretty rotten to now have to lean on the very people who I didn't want to get much attention to because I was too busy working all my life. I mean, I was helping them financially, but it doesn't feel the same that I have to. They don't have they don't help me financially, but they help me with for emotional support. It's something that's really hard for me to accept, and I hid from it when I was a workaholic. And the psychological things you go through, especially from a man's perspective, when it's always been your job to be the provider and protector, and suddenly you lose that role, and you have to develop a new identity, and go through the stages of grief, and go through all the different stages you're going through. And then you have to learn how to navigate the medical field because if you don't know anything about the medical field, if you're not proactive in taking care of yourself, no one's gonna be there to do it for you. And let me tell you one little trick I learned about when you go to doctor visits. I learned from one of my friends who has autoimmune disease. He got in the middle. He got the Persian Gulf War syndrome, but he started coaching me on making sure when you go to the doctor was you take someone there who can advocate for you at the same time. Doctors act differently when you have an advocate there with you asking tough questions, and they know there's a witness that can remember that can potentially testify to the conversation of what was said. And doctors are on their best behavior, and they work hard. They work harder to make sure they're taking care of you the way they're supposed to, and not slack. It's a little trick I learned from my friend, but it's really true. I'm not saying you have to be bullies with your doctors. I'm saying it just puts them on their best behavior when they know that they have somebody else in the room that's watching what's going on, and you get the best possible out of your doctor most of the time when you have another person there with you advocating for you. So it's one little tip I think everybody should know about that. And shoot, if you don't know the person who's coming with you very well, just have someone there in the room with you. It just puts a lot of pressure on the doctor for them to give their best possible treatment. So keep that in mind when you're going for treatment, and you really got to really do a lot of your own research and advocate for yourself. And it shouldn't be that way, but doctors are going to only go as far as you push them to go sometimes. And if you need something, you just can't shoot around the bushes. You got to tell the doctors what you need and what you want, and then go from there and let them use their medical opinion. But if you're not advocating for yourself, you'll fall through the cracks. And the hard part is that sometimes you're really too sick to navigate yourself, and it's depressing when you need the help the most. That things are not going to go as well as you had hoped. And it's a scary feeling when you're in sick mode and you realize there's really no one that can help you with what's going on, and you're really alone in this. And even though your family loves you and everybody loves you, but some parts of this journey you have to handle alone, and no one's going to understand or relate to you what you're going through. And so sometimes when I'm in those when I'm feeling really bad, I just gotta go in my room and shut down and just kind of be like a little zombie and wait for the deep fog and the zombie-like state just to clear, and I'll watch some YouTube videos. But with this zombie state, like since I've had this, I have a difficult time watching movies anymore. Movies are just too taxing and too much attention, and I have difficult following the plots now or understand what's going on. And with this brain fog, it's hard to absorb content that's too long and too much plots, or I don't know. And so most of the time I only have the attention span to maybe watch a 5 or 10 minute video on YouTube. And when I'm really sick, I just spend endless times just watching small stuff, but I'm not even digesting what I'm watching, and it's just giving me a little dopamine to get by while I'm feeling like crap and my mind is like a zombie. And you just wait it out, and And if you ever have those effects from this Crohn's, and it drags on for a week at a time, you really start facing depression at that point from just being sick, and it's a really scary feeling when you're in that zombie state because it seems like with this Crohn's, you don't know where the bottom's completely at. You don't know how far you're going to keep on falling, and every time you think you found a plateau of how far it can fall, it keeps on falling a little bit further, and you keep on losing more of yourself. Like it was a big wake up call for me about maybe 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago. I went on this rafting. It's not like a river rafting, just mild river, and we floated down the river, and things were going fine. I had my beef jerky, I had my Gatorade, and the steak out, but suddenly I just had a major flare up. My eyes started burning. It got really foggy, and I had an instant flare up, and it was a severe one right out of the blue, and I wasn't prepared for it. And then I was trying to hide it from the people I was around, and I hid it somewhere, and they dropped me off to Walmart where my car was so I could drive home. But I went in to get some stuff to help my eyes, and then I started getting scared because I couldn't think clearly, and I could see that people were scared to be around me because it seemed like I wasn't there because I was just in a kid's mind. I was panicking and I couldn't think clearly how to help myself. And I was asking for people for help, and I must have seemed like a crazy person. And it was so embarrassing at the same time that they want to be around the crazy person, and that was actually me. And and then finally I tried to go find my car to try to drive home. I couldn't find my car. I panicked and called my wife, who had to walk me through it, and I needed help the whole way home. And I never had the brain fog hit so incredibly hard, and it was so debilitating. And now I'm too scared to leave the house too far away in case I get an instant brain fog like that again, because I didn't my first time experiencing that kind of deep brain fog and mental, and I had these fears if I were to call 911 for help, and that might think I'm so disabled that they would have to commit me or something for having that kind of level of brain fog. I don't know. I was just scared. I was just so scared I didn't know who to turn to, and I never been in that situation, so I wasn't prepared how to handle it, and I didn't know I could fall that far off the deep end with the brain fog. And it was a wake up call that this disease is really more severe than I've been letting myself know, and I got to start taking it more seriously. But you'll as your journey goes with disease, you'll start finding new lows, and your limitations will continue to get weaker and weaker unless you're one of the lucky ones who actually find a way to go into remission. And then your relationships around all the people you love have to change. It can't be things are changing, and it's hard for a lot of people who love you to see this. There's a different version of you because even you changed, and it's a real big progress. It's a lot of progress, and the future challenge. There's a lot of things I want to share with you on different subjects with reading Crohn's. I want to talk. I want to go cover some of the treatments I've had and share. Maybe you can share in the chats what treatments you had and what you guys, and we can share what we're doing for diets and what's works for us. And I like to see if I can develop a community where people share what's working for them and what their journeys with the doctors and their little tips that they learn. And so I'm hoping to find a large enough group where people can share information and learn things from us in a helpful way, so we can help and heal each other at the same time. But I also want to talk about how Crohn's is related to potentially other things related from the autoimmune disease, from how I developed autoimmune disease, because from speak about autism and Crohn's, speak about ADD, ADHD, and Crohn's, and maybe a little bit of avoidant personality and Crohn's, and how those can all be related. And maybe those might be a little much of a niche subject, but maybe people will still find it fascinating. But I want to talk about how relationships between me and my wife have really evolved, and how we had a change, and talk about our relationship, and talk about the kind of relationship, and share any little breakthroughs in science or whatever, and just really talk about so many subjects. There's so much stuff to talk about that I don't see other channels talking about, and I want to cover the things that most channels want to talk about. I want to talk about the human nature of this disease and how it affects you as a human, and I'm hoping that I can reach a lot of guys who, in my opinion, might be more affected most severely because of losing your role as a man, and it really puts you in an identity crisis. And I think I'm hoping I can help people who don't have any other friends they could talk to about this, and maybe be able to connect with people who need help and need a way to connect and have their voices heard and not feel so alone in this journey. And maybe we can do a little sharing together and heal together and make it all better for all of us. But that's all for this channel. But I'm hoping to get more frequent updates since I'm not going to do all the fancy stuff I want to do. Because if I wait for it to get fancy, I'm never going to get around to doing it. So I think it's just easier if I just share my thoughts and put it in raw format and get the messages out there and see if I can develop a community and see if we can each help each other. So take care and I'll keep in touch. All right, bye. Take care.